goofy.
We are.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to If These Walls Could Talk. I'm Wendy Stuart.
And I am Tym Moss.
And we're goofy. We're in a goofy mood.
Yes.
First of all, we're broadcasting together.
Yes, we don't get to see each other in person.
No, we don't. You know, we're living in a virtual world, and I'm a virtual girl, and you're a virtual guy. And
I'm a material girl.
You are a material girl. That's what I heard about you. But we're very happy to be here with everybody today on this wonderful Wednesday.
Yes.
I was just telling Tim before the show started, my doorman lived for my costumes, and I did an 80s show for the Imperial Court of New York on Sunday at Industry Bar, and I did a song from the 80s by a group called Lime.
Yeah.
Did you remember Lime?
No,
There were people there that did, which is great, but there's a whole lot of people that didn't. But anyway, I really had a great time, and I did a duet with somebody who's a wonderful performer, and I have my whole, fake, it's my Shakira wig, but it's versatile. I used to wear that. Listen, if you can't count on a Shakira wig, what can you count on? And, just had a really great time. But normally I change out of my costume, but I was feeling lazy. And I got out of my taxi in front of my building. I tell you, the doormen come right out to view the freak show. But it's good. We have fun. We're entertainers.
Yes,
we have fun entertaining.
I've left shows and it's similar, like where I forgot to change or something.
Or you have a rush for time.
Yeah, and I go walking down the street in full costume, and
right. Well,
it's New York.
It's New York. Well, even when we did Bronx Pride, and you were doing your. What is that number? Living for the 60s?
Welcome to the 60s.
Welcome to the 60s.
Which I also did this last Saturday. I also hosted Bronx Pride again last Saturday.
And that everyone loves that number. Yeah. But, we took the bus last year when we did it. Tim's got all his stuff with him.
A walker.
The walker. And then you've got that crazy wig
and the glasses and the robe and the whole bit. Yeah.
I tell you, as much as you hear crazy things about New York, nobody will bother us because we look like nut jobs.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody bothers me.
So what's going on with you besides that?
Oh, goodness. Well, my dear friend Kit, Anthony, they're getting married this weekend. So I went out to New Jersey last week and I signed I was the witness on their marriage certificate.
You were the witness. Wow.
Yeah. So I went out, and so it's on. I was just talking to him earlier today, and I'm going out Friday and the wedding is on Saturday. So
isn't that great? And they had the bachelor party.
Yeah, we a bunch of it wasn't wild and crazy or anything.
No, nobody jumped out of a cake.
No strippers, no nothing.
No strippers,
it was just
some
pina coladas and Mexican food.
And call it a day.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's definitely a reason to celebrate. Right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, and then Saturday, like I said, was Bronx Pride, and I jumped in a few years ago to stage manage, to help everything backstage, and seemed to do it well enough that I've done that every year since.
Yeah.
So I was stage managing, I was hosting, and also performing. So I slept really well Saturday night when I got home.
I'm sure. And the year I did it, they needed you to be doing all of those things.
Right.
But a shout out to the fabulous Apollonia Cruz, who of course produces the entire thing.
And she was just getting over COVID. She got COVID a couple weeks before, but it all worked out. She did what she does. And, but there's a couple dates I want to remind everybody about. One is August 6th at Urban Stages. Kit Anthony, my friend, had written this amazing play called Salvation, which I'm going to be starring in. And we're doing a reading on August 6th. It's Wednesday, August 6th. And then the next day on August 7th
is Nick Lyon, our amazing dear friend who has left us. We're having a celebration of his life. And what would Nick have wanted? Bling, bling, bling.
Party.
Put together a really incredible show. I have 9 performers.
Yeah.
They're performers that you've heard of, which is really great. Various speakers. It's going to be at the Copa, and everyone has to come blinged out to the best, because I know Nick's up there and he's going to be looking down.
Yeah. He'll be taking notes on what everybody's wearing.
Wait, no, it'll be right. Why didn't you wear the right? You remember he used to do that.
Yes.
Why aren't you wearing the? I know it's hysterically funny. And then on the 16th of August, it's a Saturday, is the LGBTQ Film Short Festival at Jersey City Pride with Icavelli, and I'm hosting.
Jed Ryan
is
Mila
hosting.
Jam's going to be there.
Mila Jam's going to be there. Lady Clover Honey. Are you going to be there for that?
No. I can't. I think I'm out of town that weekend or something.
Oh my
I don't
God.
remember.
We all have so many fingers and so many pies. We all have so many cooks in the kitchen too. But up and coming, making sure I make my summer as fabulous as possible.
Yes.
Because we're very keyed into everything that's going on around us. And I said this to somebody the other day, I can only make things better by pushing my agenda.
Absolutely.
And your agenda and the things that we believe in forward.
And just being ourselves and bringing the joy. Because that in itself is resistance.
Right. Bringing joy, but also spreading news. And that's one of the things that we love to do on this show.
And now a lot of times we're very fun and very frivolous. And this particular episode there's a lot of gravity to this one.
There certainly is. Many of you will remember the story about Cecil the lion. He was a well-known lion that all the trackers in the protected parks knew about. When you went
in Africa,
when you went on safari, you could see him, majestic. And again, everybody knew him. Well, even though in a protected situation, he was shot and killed by a dentist in Tennessee that had paid money to do this, right? And I knew about trophy hunting as a member of the Explorers Club. Of course, I knew about trophy hunting, but that story in particular really raised the bar in terms of awareness, because people all over the world were like, wait a minute, how could such a tragedy had happened? Well, we are approaching the 10th anniversary of Cecil the lion leaving us, being killed by a big game trophy hunter. And today we have on a very, very important guest. Our guest today is a best-selling author who fights to ban trophy hunting with a trilogy of 3 new books, 20 Elephants in 75 Minutes. If that title doesn't get you, I don't know what will. Shoot One Lion, Get One Free. Yes, this is what it's all about. And mainlining on heroin, which I really want to delve into with him. All right, the forewords in these books have been written by both Jane Goodall and Priscilla Presley and Chris Packham. Okay, our guest is so esteemed, and we really want to support his agenda. Please put your hands together for Eduardo Gonclaves.
Yay. Thank you very much. Gosh, it's a lovely welcome. It's great to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much for being here. This topic, right, is huge. And when we have a guest like yourself, we are all getting the word out there that to the degree that this needs to happen. All of us hear about, conservation and elephants being killed, but nobody ever really goes into the detail, right? It's always the poachers. We hear that word all the time. Nobody talks about the canned hunts or the trophy hunters. So I am going to just let you take it away. How did you become so involved in this, Eduardo?
Gosh, well, I mean, like you, I remember the story of Cecil the lion back in 2015, and it had the effect it had on me was probably the effect it had on most people, and was why it was such a big story, which is, what's going on? Are they still shooting lions for sport? We thought this had died out years ago with the colonies and the British Empire and all of that. This is still going on for real. And then a few years later, what was the final, if you like, trigger for me was that the government of Botswana decided it was going to allow elephant trophy hunting again. And I was kind of at home and I saw this flash up on an Agence France Presse notice. And I thought, hang on a second, elephants as well? What else is there? And that set me on the journey. And so, in fact, I wrote my first book on trophy hunting, which was Trophy Hunters Exposed back in 2020. And it's almost like every pace I took, I was opening up more and more doors and finding out more and more. So you mentioned quite rightly, it's the 10th anniversary of Cecil's death. I mean, how many people out there are going to know that since Cecil was killed, trophy hunters have shot another 10,000 lions?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I'm not surprised.
1970s, the lion population has gone from around 200,000 in the 1970s to maybe as few as 13,500 today.
Oh, that's a huge number. So let's talk about the other side of the coin. You brought up Botswana, and this is something I didn't connect about them starting elephant hunting again, because when you talk to anyone that's paying money to do an ecotourism African safari, right? And we love that. We love that people will spend their dollars that way. Botswana is supposed to be the place where you go see the big, it is really known for having such incredible wildlife. So what is incomprehensible to me is how could they have allowed that to happen on one hand, and on the other hand, they're promoting themselves as the place to go see the big five.
One question along that line is, because I know that these are all money-driven ventures. Is money involved? Do you think that these people, they have so much money that they can persuade the governments? Like the government.
So the answer is, it's important to understand that trophy hunting isn't done by just a few individuals. Trophy hunting is a massive industry.
Wow.
There are very, very powerful lobby groups. So what happened in Botswana? So trophy hunting, all trophy hunting was banned in 2008 by the president, Sir Ian Khama. And he did it partly because he could see that actually there was no real difference between poaching and trophy hunting. If you were going to go after one, you had to go after all of them. And when he banned all trophy hunting, all poaching stopped as well.
Wow.
It was an extraordinary success story on two fronts. One is that Botswana then became really the hub of Africa's remaining elephants. So even today, about 1/3 of all of Africa's elephants are in Botswana. Botswana isn't a huge country. It's the size of maybe the state of Texas.
Right.
And yet 1/3 of Africa's elephants are in Botswana. It's got twice as many elephants as any other African nation. So that was the first thing. And then what happened was that he stepped down, a new president came to power. And the new president who came to power was wined and dined and heavily lobbied by Safari Club International, which is the world's biggest trophy hunting organization, which spends tens of millions of dollars on lobbying every year. And it flew him to the big convention in the US. It heralded him, a great big prize in this kind of Oscars-style gala as International Statesman of the Year. And it all behind it was this conversation about we're going to restart elephant hunting because, of course, as it's been left alone, they are the finest elephants in Africa. So they've got the biggest tusks. And because trophy hunting has been shooting out the big tuskers. So, I mean, in Kenya and other places, which are the only place where you still have big tuskers, because they too have banned all trophy hunting. But there's only a few dozen left. All the big tuskers. I mean, there's so as part of my investigation, which I'll go into in a little bit more detail, I became a member of Safari Club International, obviously not under my name.
And that's the largest safari club in the world.
It's the largest safari club in the world, and they have branches all over the world. In the UK and Europe. I mean, in all individual countries, and they have legal teams and teams of lobbyists on Capitol Hill, in Brussels by the European Union, so constantly lobbying policymakers, basically to try and protect their right to kill animals for sport. And it's an extraordinary industry. But one of the things it does is it has these awards which it gives to trophy hunters, which are supposedly very prestigious, and they're all awards for people who shoot lots and lots of animals. So let me give you, there's dozens of these. So let me give you just one example. It's called the Hunting Achievement Award. And rather like computer games, where you have to shoot more and more space aliens to go up all the different levels. So it has 5 different levels. The bottom one is copper. To get the copper award, you have to shoot animals from 17 different species.
Oh my God.
Incredible.
Bronze is 30, silver is 50, gold is 100, and then the top prize, the diamond, is for shooting animals for more than 125 different species. So it's not even just 125 animals, it's animals from 125 different species. Wow. Now it has, dozens of these awards, and these guys have no sense of irony. Their top prize, which you have to shoot something like 537 animals to get this prize, it's called the World Conservation and Hunting Award.
Oh my God.
Anyway, part of my investigation, as I say, I joined Safari Club International, and together with a colleague, basically we were trying to find out the scale of the industry, but also to try to understand who are these people that do this. What is it that motivates them?
And so those are all my questions right there.
Yeah, exactly. So, we then got in touch with hunters. We got in touch with the CEOs of hunting companies that sell and organize these trophy hunting holidays, as they portray. They portray it as a form of tourism. So we corresponded, we spoke on the phone, we met in person. We then visited their trophy rooms. We went to the workshops for the taxidermists that they use, and we went to the hunting estates where they operate.
I have to ask you at this point, you were undercover, you and the other person. No one had, you were a mole. Nobody had any idea at any time while you were doing this, because this is huge. They were opening up Pandora's box for the two of you, and nobody suspected anything.
No, and it was quite interesting because I think they sort of feel a slight sense of victimization. They know they're in a minority. They know in their heart of hearts that what they do is wrong. So when somebody comes along to them and says, "Hey, look, I'm a trophy hunter too, and I've only done a few things. I want to be like you."
Right.
It's like they embrace you like a long lost brother. And so that they were very, and I wanted to say, tell me how it was for you. Did you enjoy it? What sort of animals did you shoot? What was the experience like? And they finally had somebody to talk to. I was kind of like their therapist. And they were telling me the most extraordinary things. They were telling me about the adrenaline rush they got from shooting all of the African Big Five. There was one guy who talked to us about how he cried with joy the time he shot his very first elephant.
Oh,
it was guys who were joking, look, we'd have a few beers in the evening and then have some fun shooting the monkeys out of the trees. We went into a trophy room. This guy had 500 bodies and heads of animals in there, including a polar bear, and which he was using as a flora, complete still with its head. We went to the workshop of a world champion taxidermist, and he showed us all of these different animals. And also he was telling us about his own hunting holiday. So he was actually in the middle of planning a cheetah trophy hunting trip. Now, bear in mind, cheetahs are the most endangered big cat in Africa. There's only 6,500 cheetahs left on Earth. And
Lori Martha from the Cheetah Foundation is a friend of mine. I've interviewed her. The work that she's doing in Namibia and in Somalia. And they're shooting these cheetahs like there's so much garbage, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. They're seen as vermin, as a pest.
Vermin, right.
And we went to an estate that's leased by a UK company, and we actually went with the CEO of that company. And it's a place where you can go and shoot elephants and giraffes. And the CEO actually told us about the time, he was joking, but this was a true story. He was saying about the time he shot a giraffe because he thought it was gay.
Oh my God.
I read some of the quotes. I got 20 pages of quotes. I read Tim a few. I couldn't even digest them. There was one on there where the person enjoyed watching the life go out of the animal. I'm sorry, but it's like, what is in a human being that could make them so cruel where they can actually give you an adrenaline rush and describe it, or watching something in pain die in front of them, and that's okay. What is that?
And the thing that when you were there talking to these people, they almost felt like they were heroes,
right?
Telling you these stories that, look, I'm a hero.
Look at me, I'm a big man.
Wow. Where does
they
that
come from? They sent me photos of themselves with their kills. There was one woman who even sent me a video. And so quite often on these trophy hunting holidays, they will have a professional videographer in the camp to fully document the whole of your adventure. And it's then produced to almost sort of Hollywood style standards. And so there's this scene at the end of it where she's sort of kneeling over her slain victim. I can't remember the animal that it was, but she's kneeling next to it. And she's sort of gazing out, wistfully into the distance. The camera is kind of going around her, and the wind is kind of gently blowing through her hair as she's considering, this amazing thing that she's just gone undone. And she sent me this in all seriousness. But there were a couple of things that I didn't expect to find. Let me tell you first of all what the key findings were. Firstly, there are trophy hunters out there who have single-handedly shot thousands of animals. So there is one guy, he's Spanish, in fact, and he's shot over 4,000 animals, and that includes 1,300 elephants, 340 lions, hundreds of leopards and rhinos and other animals. He even shot a couple of gorillas. But he was absolutely adamant. He insisted that he only hunted in moderation. There's another guy who has shot 5,000 elephants and who's written this extraordinary account. I mean, it's almost, he almost gets sexual pleasure from shooting elephants. And he writes this story, which I recount in the book, about, the thrill that he gets, the exhilaration he feels as this wonderful animal collapses in front of him and it throws its trunk up into the air for the time. Another guy who, again, he said, actually, I've lost count of the number of animals that I've shot, but I know it's in the thousands. And so, and trophy hunters are shooting tens of thousands of animals, many of them endangered species, every single year. So we think obviously of lions, and we've heard now about lions because of Cecil, but what we don't know is that there's all of these elephants and giraffes and cheetahs and leopards and hippos and rhinos and monkeys. I mean, monkeys are really popular amongst, and sheep. And I was offered all sorts of things by the companies. So when I was talking to the CEOs, and they were offering, they were offering me endangered animals like candy. So there was I've just written down a couple of quotes. These were things they genuinely said to me. So one was saying, look, every polar bear adventure is unique, as he was trying to encourage me to buy a polar bear shooting holiday. Another guy was giving me advice on how I should manage my budget, because obviously when you go on a trophy hunting holiday, you generally shoot not just one animal, but 10 or sometimes 20 on a single trip. And so this guy who was giving me budget advice, he was saying, look, a cheetah hunt is very cost friendly. They're cheap to shoot, basically. Another guy was really encouraging me to shoot a leopard. He said, look, shoot a leopard. It's worth it. The excitement and all the rest of it. I was told I had a very good chance of shooting a 70-pound elephant. So that's an elephant with tusks weighing 70 pounds and so on. And this was just as if it was a normal conversation.
Normal. This is what you do.
And I was offered sheep. I was offered meerkats. I was offered pangolins.
Meerkats, Mike.
Oh
what?
God.
Yeah. And even an antelope, which is actually extinct in the wild. It was hunted to extinction in the wild in the late 20th century. But there's a couple of estates, well, there's a few estates in South Africa and even in the US where they breed them for the trophy hunter who already has everything. So they get the ultimate prize, which is an animal that technically no longer exists in the wild.
Oh my!
So they breed them. So, for example, you can go to Texas and shoot one of these. There's the Arabian oryx and the scimitar oryx, both of which are thought to be the origin of the unicorn myth. Because if you look at them from one side, it looks like they've just got the one horn, because they've got two horns. They're very thin and close together, so they look like they've got one horn. But you can go and shoot zebras in Texas. You can shoot kangaroos in Texas.
Yes, you can. I knew about that. So what? You would know these numbers. Yeah, these are the canned hunts. What kind of numbers do they charge people? You probably have a range of numbers.
Canned hunting has made trophy hunting accessible to the masses. Because before, for example, Walter Palmer, who was the Minnesota dentist who shot Cecil, he paid a trophy fee of about $54,000 to shoot Cecil. But if you want to shoot a canned lion, you can do it for a fraction of that, maybe $5,000.
Wow!
And of course, these canned lions, they are hand reared, so they're semi-tame. They're in an enclosed estate, so they neither run away from you because they don't have that natural fight or flight, nor can they because they can't get out. That's why it's called canned, because the result is in the can. You're guaranteed of getting a trophy.
Or they're caged or in a protected area. They can only go so far, type of thing. Like
they can go so far. So you're not shelling out thousands of dollars for trackers fees and for staying in luxury accommodation. You're just there for a couple of days or so. And the important thing is that it's not just lions that are being bred in captivity for people to shoot. So a couple of years ago, I actually wrote another book and did another documentary. It's called Saving Sally. And what it was is we discovered that tigers were being bred in South Africa for people to fly in and to shoot in enclosures. And we heard about this young tiger cub called Sally that had, was still very, very young, and we knew that she was going to be bred in order to be shot. And so we decided to mount an operation to try to rescue her. And I mean, it was an extraordinary, nervy operation. It nearly went disastrously wrong, but we did manage. But in the course of that investigation, we found, they're breeding all sorts of different exotic animals and variants of animals, because so many trophy hunters have already shot everything. They literally have a shopping list where their aim is to shoot at least one of every species that you're allowed to shoot everywhere in the world. And they have these private museums, and some of them are literally museums. And so what else can you shoot if you've already got everything? So in South Africa, they're breeding black leopards, they're breeding golden wildebeest, but then they're also breeding white tigers, white lions, they're breeding tabby tigers, they're breeding ligers, which are a hybrid of tigers and lions. And this is going on an absolutely extraordinary scale. I mean, it is literally factory farming cats and other animals for people to shoot in enclosures. It's extraordinary. There's one guy actually that we spoke to a while ago, and he was boasting about how he shot one of these canned lions from a distance of just 8 yards, as if it was some great thing. Well, of course, that lion was so used to humans, he probably thought that lion, that hunter rather, was coming to bring it dinner.
Right.
It was feed it.
So tragic. Absolutely.
So of that number about 2/3 of the 10,000 lions shot since Cecil was killed in 2015 are canned lions.
Wow.
So these are all animals that have been bred in captivity and are shot in captivity.
So
that
why,
Eduardo,
you're the one person that can answer this. Here's what I'm struggling with here. We give $1 gazillion to all of these eco tours, right? If you look at the prices, I think like to go to Antarctica is $30,000. You know what it costs to go to these places. People love going on safari, and they love if they feel their dollars are doing good. And it's an eco tour, and it's going to help the culture and help the animals and all of that. We have that on one hand. But on the other hand, what you are sharing with us today is such blasphemous information about what is going on for real. My head cannot wrap around it. I don't understand why there's not more people blowing the whistle and out there and demanding that this be stopped.
Well, a lot of the time, the people who own the estates where the hunting goes on are themselves hunters, and they will have purchased the estate, or it's come to them in their family. So a lot of them, of course, in South Africa, you're talking about white settlers and so on. And so they do it because they enjoy it as well. So they get a kick out of it. But it's also important to realize just how embedded important and powerful people within the industry are in the world of politics as well. Let me give you an example. So the guy who shot 5,000 elephants, he's very good friends with the former Secretary General of CITES. So CITES is the international convention. It's called the Conventional International Trade in Endangered Species, which is supposedly there to protect wildlife from trade, including hunting and so on and so forth.
Iffy, iffy.
Right? And now, what's the problem with CITES? Well, one of the problems with CITES is that it has this massive loophole. So, for example, Appendix 1, these are the most endangered animals in the world, according to CITES. And what the CITES Treaty says is that those animals must not be hunted or traded or whatever it is, unless there are exceptional circumstances. It can only be authorized in exceptional circumstances. Well, the thing is, those animals include cheetahs, they include leopards, include some of the African elephant populations, and all that actually happens is that it just goes on. It just goes on. And the reason is because CITES considers trophy hunting to not be a commercial activity. And therefore, it can be put to one side. So you can't shoot an elephant in order to sell its tusk, but you can shoot the very same elephant in the same area because you want that tusk for yourself. Now, there's all sorts of problems with that logic. Right. Of course, that trophy hunting is a massive industry. When you pay to shoot an elephant, you've paid somebody a lot of money to go and shoot that elephant. And the second thing is it's then used by the wildlife traffickers to conceal their trade as legal trophy hunting. So there was this famous crime kingpin from Thailand. And he would go down to Vietnam and recruit peasants and prostitutes. He would put them on planes to South Africa and say, look, you've just got to go and pretend to be a trophy hunter. Just turn up, go to this place, and they will do everything for you. So these guys would get on these, but they'd be in sneakers and jeans and T-shirts. They'd never been to Africa. They'd never left their villages before. They certainly didn't know how to hold a rifle and to shoot a rhino. And so they would turn up, and the professional hunter at the estate would shoot the rhino for them. And then they would have to sign a bit of paper saying, yes, I'm a trophy hunter. This is for my personal use. Except they didn't even know how to write. So it was just a cross on a bit of paper.
They were used.
Absolutely. So they would take the rhino horn back to this chap. Now, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of rhino horns were trafficked legally using this loophole because they were classed as...
This is an amazing story. Nobody knows this story. This is an incredible story.
But it goes on all sectors. I mean, so one of the things I discovered is that there's a massive trade in bear gallbladders. As you know, bear gallbladders are used in order to extract the bile.
The bear gallbladder.
It's for the traditional Chinese medicines, for aphrodisiacs and so on. So, but there are literally thousands of bear gallbladders that are being shipped, labeled in the CITES database as hunting trophies. Now, where on earth, if you are a real trophy hunter, where on earth are you going to place or frame your bear's gallbladder? Of course, you're not going to do that. And you have other ridiculous things. So you see, for example, shipments of 5,000 crocodile skins going from South Africa to Singapore. Right. Now, first thing, Singaporeans don't go trophy hunting. Apart from anything else, is banned in their own country and in Malaysia. But they don't go trophy hunting around the world, or hardly ever at all. So there's no other real register of hunting trophies going back into Singapore, except for this one massive consignment of 5,000 crocodile skins. So we're supposed to believe that Singaporeans who don't trophy hunt, they do make an exception in the case of crocodiles. And in fact, that they're so keen on hunting crocodiles that they shoot a very precise number of exactly 5,000 crocodiles. Now, what's actually happening is that our skins are being used in the leather industry. So they're used for making handbags and all the rest of it. Right. And there's the red tegu is another lizard, rare lizard. Also, the same thing happens. This is all going on under the guise of hunting trophies. I mean, and it's all sorts of animals' body parts. I mean, it's genitalia and penises as well, which again, all for the traditional Chinese market, but they're being trafficked. They are trafficked under the guise of hunting trophies because of this absolutely absurd loophole in international law.
Well, I've still got so many questions on this. Oh my God. But one is I'm trying to understand the psychology and the drive behind this. Is it industrialists, like rich people who are constantly having control over people, and this is one way that they can get
exercise more control.
More control of killing a beast. Because for me, if you went without a weapon and killed these beasts, I might be impressed. I'll even give you a knife and a grizzly bear. Yeah. And if you can take the grizzly down, I would be impressed. But the imbalance is just there's no sport. Yeah. There's not even sport to it. It's just all ego.
No, there is. Absolutely. So there's two sides to this. On the one side, there is absolute sheer raw narcissism. It is that, but also a corollary of that.
Right.
Is narcissism. It's also what psychologists call costly signaling. So in order to go and shoot these animals and to build up a collection of 300, 400 or 1,000, 4,000 of these animals, you've got to be incredibly rich. And this is one of the ways in which you demonstrate your wealth and power and prowess to your peers. Right? Yes. So let's say you shoot a lion, you've paid $50,000 or whatever for that lion. Plus you've shot all sorts of other animals as well. But anyway, let's just take the lion. You shoot £50,000 to shoot that lion. Then you've got to pay probably about $5,000 for the taxidermy work. Then you've got to pay another couple of $1,000 for the shipping.
I was going to say, because there's all the logistics of having to ship it back.
It's $100,000 before you've even said hello. But those people don't see the numbers. They don't see the zeros at the end of it.
No, because what they then also want is they want to see their name in the record book. Right. So there's literally a kind of a Guinness Book of World Records for trophy hunters. It's the Safari Club International Record Book. There's actually others as well. There's Boone and Crockett. There's the Roland Ward, but this is the main one. And so there are people. Let me give you a name. So Steve Chancellor, who is a donor and fundraiser to the current US president, and he's shot around 500 animals. And in fact, he's held a fundraiser for the president in his California home. So he holds the current world record for shooting the largest leopard ever killed. He also has broken the world record for shooting top 10 record. He's got 17 lions in all in the record book. And that's out of 50 lions that he's shot. So there's all that prestige. But then, to get into the record book, you've got to pay. You've got to pay for an official measurer who's certified by Safari Club International to come and measure the skull of the lion. So they measure it, they boil the skull, and then they measure it from top to bottom, and then from side to side, and they do it in inches, and they add the two numbers together, and it's got to be at least 23 inches to be in the record book. So it's like an Olympic qualifier.
Of course.
And then, of course, you want to win an award. So if you want, for example, to pick up the Hunting Achievement Award, you've got to shoot 125 animals. For each one, you have to pay to have your animal listed in the awards book. If you want to then receive a plaque or a statuette, you've got to pay another $3,000-4,000 for that. If you want to pick up one of these conservation hunting awards, I mean, that's like an Oscar gala event.
We're having a little bit of audio. Hold on a second. Yeah, we have a little bit of audio. It's okay. Can you hear us okay?
We're having some audio.
You're hearing me now?
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Okay, great.
Okay. Well, what I was going to suggest, let's give it a rest for a moment, because we do have
the trailer.
We have a video that we wanted to show you, and this is of your documentary. Is that correct? Oh, that is of the documentary. We will try to get him back online in just a moment.
But maybe we can show the documentary.
In 2015.
Yes, go ahead.
In 2015. There was a worldwide outrage over the killing of a lion named Cecil by an American trophy hunter. What is less well known is that British trophy hunters are killing lions too.
I went to Benin and I took the last lion on permit in Benin ever.
This film reveals how British-owned companies are making a killing from lion hunting holidays.
The lion hunt, that's no problem at all. We have some very, very big lions. When the lion is hunted, the lion will go to the taxidermist and they will make the trophy.
They don't die easy. Your first shot is not a dead shot. Kill him then, you basically got to break bones.
This film lifts the lid on Britain's trophy hunters.
I got hooked. It was like mainlining on heroin.
Oh, you beauty.
He organised for me to go up in a helicopter and shoot porcupines and jackals.
You just have a bit of fun shooting the monkeys.
A leopard I have no problem with at all. I thoroughly enjoy hunting them. But we have to put like a zebra leg as a bait.
We skinned it, He's got the head hanging on his wall. That was a good laugh.
The powerful industry behind it.
The game department needed a cow elephant to be killed. And I said to my professional hunter, how do we know which one? And Colin van der Linden said to me, Paul, we just looked for an elephant that fits the description.
And how Russian and American dark money is funding a campaign to thwart a British ban.
There's all this talk they're going to ban it, and that's been going on for years. They haven't done it, so we all carry on as normal until something happens.
You shoot that thing and you hear it drop and you're just glad that you've heard it drop and your heart racing. It's just
oh my God, that is so disturbing.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is a very tough subject. Because at the Explorers Club in New York, I give tours there. And of course, I highlight the people that are doing all the amazing work, like Laurie Marker from the Cheetah Foundation and Jane Goodall and all those amazing people, right? And then we have this side of it. And this completely blows my mind because I still don't understand why policies cannot be put forth to stop this. We can't stop all of it, but my God, the massive amount of animals that are being killed with your statistics, that is just completely
But if the people,
heartless.
If it costs this much money,
Right.
you know that there's people
Right.
with money in positions of power
Right, doing
that are
this.
not going to allow
Right.
the proper laws to be passed.
Right.
Absolutely. And we saw, for example, in 2016, in that election in the US, how the PACs and super PACs of the trophy hunting industry were putting a lot of money into the campaigns, obviously their preferred presidential campaigns, but also their preferred members of Congress, both in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. Mitch McDonnell, the former Senate Majority Leader, being one of the people who had his campaign coffers contributed to by Safari Club International. And we were talking before about let me just also say that it's the same on the other side as well. So South Africa, which is the leading African exporter of hunting trophies, is not the world number one, by the way. That's Canada, would you believe? But we'll come back to that in a minute. But the leading African exporter of hunting trophies is South Africa. Now, the current president, Cyril Ramaphosa, he makes millions from breeding animals for big game hunting estates.
Oh my God.
So extra big, buffaloes, different animals with different characteristics, so different skin colors and so on and so forth. So he's made himself rich out of breeding and selling these animals to the big game estates. So he is part of the trophy hunting industry himself. So that's sort of one of the things. That's, if you like, the partly the demand, the supply side. But then if you look at the demand side, so what is the psychology of trophy hunters? We were talking about this before, about the costly signaling and so on. There was two words that came up again and again and again when we were talking with trophy hunters, and you've actually heard a couple of them before. And it's adrenaline and addiction. So they were constantly saying about the rush that they got, the thrill, excitement, and that chemical reaction, if you like, was so powerful that they almost become powerless. They become addicted to it. It is like a class A narcotic. And they were saying things like, there was one who was saying the adrenaline starts coursing through my blood. Another guy who says, shooting this bear was the most emotional moment of his life. The guy who shot 5,000 elephants, talking about the exhilaration. Another talking about trophy hunting being an adrenaline-induced experience. It was adrenaline and addiction being talked about again and again. But then there was one other thing which I hadn't expected. And if anything, well, it is more shocking. Let me just quickly take you back to what happened with Cecil. So he was shot twice. Why? Because Walter Palmer, he shot him with a bow and arrow. He did that because he was trying to get a special prize from Safari Club International for shooting big game animals. So they have these awards for shooting big game animals, novel weapons or multiple methods. And that includes bows and arrows, crossbows. It also includes revolvers. And in the record book, there are categories. For example, if you shoot a hippopotamus with an air gun, then you get special recognition there. I mean, one of the consequences of that is that the majority of animals shot by trophy hunters are injured. They do not die swiftly. They don't die quickly. They die very slow, painful deaths. So with Cecil, Walter Palmer shot him with the arrow, failed to kill him. He was severely injured. Now, he had the choice. He could have put Cecil out of his misery by shooting him with a rifle and killing him there and then. He chose not to, because if he did that, then his claim for this award from Safari Club International would be invalidated. So what he did, he said, I'm going to go back to camp. I'm going to have a nice dinner, going to have a nice sleep.
The lion was dying.
We're going to come back and hopefully the lion will be dead by then. So that's what he did. He went back to camp, had a lovely dinner, had a lovely sleep. And the following morning, he goes back out. Now, Cecil has actually moved from where he was originally shot. He crawled under some bushes. He was trying to escape, obviously. He was still alive. He hadn't died. He was still alive. But that Walter Palmer couldn't see him because he was under the bushes, but he could hear him. He could hear him because his lungs were filling with blood. Oh. So he was making this awful, horrific rasping sound as he was literally fighting for breath. Anyway, so Walter Palmer shot him with a second arrow and got his prize. Now, US government studies have shown that the majority of animals shot by trophy hunters are wounded rather than being killed outright. And so in so many of the accounts in my books, you will, in almost all of them actually, you will read how the trophy hunter shoots the animal, doesn't shoot it properly, and then there has to be the chase or the search. They have to go looking for the blood trail, or they're following bits of bone, muscle, even intestines on the bushes as they try to track down the animal and try to shoot it a second time or a third time. Sometimes the animals are lost altogether. Now, the bit that is really shocking was, okay, trophy hunters get pleasure out of shooting and killing the animal, but it also seems that they get pleasure from these really horrible injuries that they inflict on animals. That is part of it. So, for example, this is what a former president of Safari Club International said. He describes how the lion's head snaps backward and explodes with smoke from my bullet. Another guy, he was a former editor of a newspaper in Australia. He said, I shot it, he's talking about a lion, I shot it through the left eye, blowing out the back of the skull. And then another one talks about the arrow entered beneath the lioness's chin and took out her heart. And it's very important to understand the context in which they say these things. These aren't regretful confessions.
No.
These are celebratory statements. You can almost hear the yee-haw as they say them. They are saying this as part of the thrill, part of the excitement. It's destroying the animal. It's this complete power over it and causing this pain and suffering is as much a part of the experience as the kill.
Right.
The Sophie to show off to your peers and show off your wealth and power and prowess. And that really horrified me.
You know, Eduardo, I have to ask you because I'm feeling hopeless, and Tim knows I hardly ever feel hopeless. If you were going to delineate a solution, right, what would be some of the suggestions?
Well, let me first give you one piece of good news. And that is that because of our campaigns and the campaigns of others and the media publicity around Cecil and so on and so forth, trophy hunting is becoming increasingly socially unacceptable. And trophy hunters know that. And so there are fewer and fewer trophy hunters. So the average age of, for example, the membership of Safari Club International is going up. The number of people that go to the Safari Club International conventions is going down. But most importantly, and this is the best bit of news in what is absolutely a pretty dark scenario, the number of animals shot by trophy hunters now or last year is half of what it was 10 years ago.
That's amazing. Good. Yeah, that's amazing.
That's the right direction.
So the work of exposing it, of raising awareness, of talking about it, of this show, right? Yeah. Of showing people that it is going on, it is absolutely wrong and awful, and it absolutely has to end. It is having an impact. It is meaning that people are saying, I'm not going to take that up, even if my father, my grandfather, and so on took it up. And by the way, a lot of trophy hunters, they started because they went out with their dads and uncles and grandfathers when they were 8 or 9 years old.
It's a sport, a family sport. Well, to go trophy hunting.
And they would bought their first rifle when they would be 8 or 9 years old.
Right.
But now you have, and there's this one really lovely guy, an American former trophy hunter, reformed trophy hunter, repentant trophy hunter. And he was telling me how, that was how he got into it. It was just part of the accepted family thing you did with the males of the family until he got to the point where he thought, no, this is wrong. And he stopped. And it was interesting. Two things happened. One was that he was pretty much ostracized by his family, by the males in his family. The second thing is that it took him a couple of years to fully come off the drug. Right. So the first couple of years, he would actually have to get dressed up in his camo gear and go. He would go into, but he wouldn't go with a gun, he would just do that because he felt he kind of had to. It was still this lingering thing. He was doing the cold turkey, if you like. Right. So this was how he was doing. He was adjusting himself, and he did that for a couple of years until he was finally able to. Yeah, I don't need to do this anymore. So it is a powerful drug, and anyway,
as you said, it's like mainlining heroin.
Right. Now, a couple of things. One, and these are kind of in a lighthearted way. One is it's almost like in my financial budget right now, I seek thrills by going to a water park or to an amusement park, like to ride a roller coaster to get that thrill and that adrenaline rush and all of that.
The Cyclone Coney Island.
Yes, but this is like, it's kind of along that same thrill, but so much more extreme.
Yeah.
And the other thing is I think they're trying to, again, I'm just trying to understand the psychology of it. Like going back to, say, the cavemen time, where the hunt and the aggression and the adrenaline of going out on the hunt and kill and making the kill and all of that.
That was
kind of a similar thing. The only difference is the cavemen were not in Prada shoes and Gucci jackets, while they're doing it.
But the cavemen, that was also,
that was for survival.
Still cultures, and we know this. They hunt and they eat.
That was to eat, right?
And I've been in those cultures, and that's I would never go kumbaya on those people and say, "Why are you doing that?" They're eating, they're using the skins, wearing them, or whatever. But this whole narcissistic, and that's what it is, aspect of these trophy hunts, of these canned hunts. I mean, to me, it's political. There needs to be legislation put forth out there to make this. I know you said it's been cut in half, and that's a great thing. But you know what? They've really got to get it absolutely down to nothing.
Absolutely. And we're headed in the right direction. We're headed in the right direction. So there is, for example, a bill in the House of Representatives at the moment. So I think it's Senator Ted Lieu who's bringing it forward, which is to ban imports of hunting trophies of threatened species into the US. In fact, there are already some restrictions in the US. For example, if you're an American trophy hunter, you can't bring home the body of a polar bear. That's banned. It's perfectly legal to shoot polar bears, and only Canada does it, by the way. Canada's the only country. Even the US has banned polar bear trophy hunting on its soil in Alaska. Canada allows it, but if you go over to Canada to shoot a polar bear, you can't bring it in. So obviously that dissuades somebody from going to do that. But and there's a number of countries. Go on.
Oh, I was going to say, just a reminder, you were going to mention about Canada.
Well, here's the thing. Canada has no idea. It's extraordinary. It is. It accounts for, well over a third of the global trade, much more than South Africa or Namibia or any of those kind of countries. And it's in large part because of the massive black bear hunting industry there.
Wow.
But it's also, grizzly bears, polar bears. It's also, mountain lions. It's also bobcats and Canada lynx and wolves. So Canada is absolutely huge, and it's easy, obviously, for Americans to go there and bring the bodies back. So Canada has, and people come from all over the world to Canada. I think a lot of people in Canada, including politicians and the press, would be horrified if they knew that Canada was the only country that still does polar bear trophy hunting, because even the Russians have stopped it. Russia stopped it. Americans have stopped it.
Incredible that they're getting away with it. I had no idea, because they run those trips to Churchill. It looks like they're trying to conserve everything up there. The hypocrisy that you have exposed is absolutely mind blowing.
And thank you so very much, because it's from people like you that are going to change the world and change this whole industry.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for bringing this.
I'm curious, has your life ever been threatened because of what you do?
I receive abuse and insults and so on. I don't think I've felt a direct threat to my life. But if you remember the guy who actually outed Walter Palmer as the killer of Cecil. So he was a guy called Johnny Rodriguez. who ran the Zimbabwean Wildlife Conservation Trust. So he and his son Shane and others, they would monitor what was going on with the wildlife trade and trophy hunting and so on. So after Cecil became such a huge story and obviously embarrassed the government of Zimbabwe, there were a number of attempts to kill Johnny Rodrigues. And in the end, the whole family had to leave the country. They had to flee the country. They're in Portugal now. But people don't know that. That's the people who we're thankful for knowing what happened with Cecil. They literally paid by having to leave everything behind and go to a country where, you know, they didn't speak the language.
I don't remember what happened to the dentist. What ended up happening?
Oh, well, actually, do you know, he was in court just the other day on a DUI charge. So he's still around. Yeah, he's still around.
And still addicted.
And he's still a dentist in Minnesota and making a lot of money. I mean, he's kept a pretty low profile as far as hunting is concerned. I don't know if he has or if he hasn't hunted, but I do know that Safari Club International actually stripped him of his membership.
Wow.
Because theoretically it wasn't a legal hunt and so on those grounds. Well, I mean, it was no different really than so many of the lion hunts that you know, that go on. I just wanted to just one other thing. Well, two other bits of good news. One is that just as there are members of Congress trying to bring in a ban in the US, there are bans being brought in by a number of other countries in Europe. So we already have comprehensive bans and partial bans in Australia as well, but in France, in the Netherlands, in Belgium, in I think it's Poland, and there's going to be bans coming in the UK and Finland, etc., etc. In fact, the European Parliament has voted there should be a European-wide ban. We'll see if that actually gets taken up. But the other thing is that everywhere in the world, any country you go to, the level of opposition to trophy hunting is almost the same. So whether it's the US, whether it's Europe, whether it's Southern Africa, around 8 out of 10 people are against trophy hunting and want it to end.
That's a good number to know.
There's unanimity around the world. We all feel the same. We all know that this is terrible. And the last thing is that the alternatives work. I mean, we're talking about photo safaris and nature tourism, so on. They bring great social as well as conservation benefits. Yeah, let's look at the case study of Kenya, which banned trophy hunting, all hunting, in the late 70s. Right now, it's pretty much the only country in Africa where the lion population is going up, the elephant population is going up, the black and the white rhino populations are going up. It now contributes 15% to the country's GDP. And for example, all of the children of the Maasai tribe, they now have access to a high school education, which they never had before, but purely as a result of photo safaris and ecotourism.
Right. Many of them are going on to college. I interviewed, it is incredible. And I always say you can't save the animals unless you save the people. But Kenya should become a role model, and what they're doing should be enacted in a lot of the other African countries.
And around the world, and you know, in countries around the world have banned it. You know, it's banned in most of Brazil, it's banned in Costa Rica, it's banned in Malaysia, it's banned in other African countries. I mean, what we really need, and this is my ultimate aspiration, is for there to be a global convention outlawing trophy hunting. For me, this is one of those, you know, old sins that, like apartheid, like slavery, like landmines, it needs to be consigned to the past. And I think it will happen. And I think in 2 or 3 generations hence, people will look back at us now and think, why the hell were they still debating it? Of course, it's obvious they should have done it a long time ago. It is just such, you know, it's just a no-brainer, as they say. Everyone's against it. It does nothing good for the animals, nothing good for people. Why are we still doing it? Well, because there are some powerful vested interests. Well, we need to call them out. That's why I've written these books. That's why we produced this film. And I hope as many people get to see it and learn about it and find out on our website about it, and then get in touch with your elected representative. Absolutely. Tell them your vote will be determined on what they do on this issue.
Absolutely.
Because that's the job.
Our incredible guest is Eduardo Gonclaves. And the books, and your 3 books are 20 Elephants in 75 Minutes.
Says it all.
Shoot One Lion, Get One Free. And also Mainlining on Heroin. And all those books are available on Amazon at Amazon.com.
And where can they find out more about your film?
bandtrophyhunting.org. So that's our website. That's where we've got a lot of information about the whole issue and what's going on and how to support our campaign. So bandtrophyhunting.org.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My gosh.
Eduardo, wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time to be with us. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you for being the human being that you are. Thank you for being an incredible humanitarian and a very empathetic person.
And
we need more of it.
And for being such a wonderful member of Earth.
Yes.
and society and all of humanity. Thank you.
Hang out because when the show ends, we are going to just take a picture. So hang out after the show ends. All right. Thank you to everyone who tuned in today. I learned a ton. I'm sure you did too.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.